Hey, this is Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm really excited to share my favorite mechanism in the new game from Garphill Games, Wayfarers of the South Tigris, not from the South Tigris, Wayfarers of the South Tigris. This game has a lot going on in it. I just finished my first play with 2 players, and I already know that there are a lot of mechanisms that I really enjoy about this game. So I'll mention a few of them here. And let me start off with my favorite, and then I'll talk about a few others. My favorite has to do with your player mat here. And there's a lot that you're going to do with your player mat. You're going to insert cards under it. You're going to play them out in different ways. I'll get to that in a second. But one of the things you're going to do is you are going to build your own dice here. And you're going to do it in a unique way. We've seen games that have dice building, but and only a few games so far, like Dice Forge. I really enjoy Dice Forge. In Dice Forge, you are improving the dice themselves. You're popping a little piece in and out of the die itself. Here, in Wayfarers, you are improving what each number means on the die. A little bit like Space Base. Space Base does this a little bit, but I really like the system here. It kind of combines a polyomino puzzle with building dice. So on this mat here, you have all these little icons. Whenever you gain a tile in the game, there are these tiles that are either horizontal or vertical, 2 spaces, 2 cells, or single space tiles. You can put it on this board. And if you cover up one of these icons, you gain an instant benefit. Then, from then on, whatever is on that die, which is often an icon that gives you more options as to where you can place your dice, or a discount whenever you place a die, whenever you use the corresponding die that matches up with that icon, that die gains that value from then on. So if I have placed, say here's a telescope here, and so that telescope is associated with only the 6 right now. But say I get another tile that has a telescope on it, and I put it right here, or say I put it here. So I put it right there, I gain a coin. From then on, whenever I place a 3-value die, my 3s also have the telescope benefit, which is a requirement for several action spaces, including this one right here. This system feels so good because it's a little bit of a spatial puzzle, just a little bit, but as the game goes on, it gets more and more important, that spatial puzzle. You're getting benefits as you cover them up, and the dice get better and better based on how you've placed those tiles there. It is a really, really good system. I really enjoy doing this. And I like that they essentially created a way that you can modify dice for the rest of the game while still using standard D6 dice. They didn't need to have a very complex system like Dice Forge has to modify dice. Really, really clever system here. I like this system so much, I would love to see it in another game as well. In fact, I would almost love to see it in a full polyomino game. These are just kind of partial polyominoes because they're 1 or 2 cells, but I'd love to see one that has a much bigger, complex board that really makes the dice super, super powerful over the course of the game. But I love it as it is in Wayfarers as well. A few other mechanisms I'll mention here that I really also enjoyed. One is slightly visual. So I don't know if you've ever played a game where you get where when you line up cards or tiles, they form a panorama. I always love that visually when that happens. And they've really leaned into that concept in Wayfarers because you are gaining land cards that you build out from here, and you build this wonderful panorama. And that panorama isn't just visual. Each of those cards is giving you an ongoing benefit or a new action spot, something that you want. Same with the ocean cards. So you have these sea cards that you're building out that form a panorama, and you have sky cards, or I forget the real name, but they're kind of constellations, and you're building out the sky above these cards that you place below. The whole effect, the end of the game effect, is really, really beautiful after you have all those cards lined up on this map. So I really like that panorama aspect. One little thing I like in the game is there are a bunch of cards that are visible face up around the board at all times. 5 different types of cards. And one of the things you can do in the game is you have these dice that you can place, but in addition to the dice, you have workers that you can sometimes place if you have a worker, and you place it on the card, not to do anything really on the card itself, but next to the card here. I actually have the board here. So if this card were right here, and I put a worker on this card, I could gain this benefit. This is if I put a green worker here, I can gain this benefit. And the nice little twist I like about this is that there are also ways to gain these cards by doing other actions. And if you gain a card that has a worker on it, you gain the card and the worker. So in a game with as many choices as Wayfarers has, I like that the game gives you a little bit of direction there. Here's a card that is a little extra valuable right now because you are not only getting the card, you're also getting a worker as a result. I think that's really, really clever. And the last thing has to do with actually this board itself. This board, not the progression, but really how the game moves forward, moves towards the end of the game, has to do with this track here. And it's a 3 tile or 3 boards that are placed together to form this track. And what this track does really, really well is give you short-term goals. This game, again, it has a lot going on. It really benefits from giving players little hints at directions that they can take, that they can think about. What you're doing on this board is you have a single token on it, and you're moving it forward whenever you gain this little ink blot benefit. I think you're like writing a research paper, something like that. Not a research paper, but you're writing down something and you're advancing your intellect, your fame, I think. And whenever you gain that icon, if you have met the requirement for the next level on this chart, you may move forward. So for example, if my token is here and I have at least 1 of this icon, or I have at least 2 of this icon among maybe the seafaring places that I've explored, and I gain the ink blot, that means I can move forward into this space or into this space, depending on which of these icons I actually have. So always looking forward to the next step. You have a few icons that you can look forward to. If I'm here, then I'm looking to gain 2 stars or to have 2 of these cards. The board gives you some short-term objectives that are very, very helpful in this game. So I think that's clever too. I'll end it with my favorite mechanism again. It's this board, putting the pieces here, upgrading your dice. Love that. It feels really good, but there's a lot of other cool mechanisms in this game as well. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. When you play Wayfarers, let me know your favorite mechanism in the game, what feels best to you, or if any of the mechanisms in this game remind you of another game, let me know about that in the comments below as well. Thanks.